welcome to Day in Woburn. I'm your host, Samantha Stone, and we are full on fall weather, which means we've had a couple of days of fake summer, and then it's cooler evenings, and I love it. It's actually a beautiful time of year around here, and hoping lots of people are enjoying the outdoors while we have some great wonderful weather the next few weeks to enjoy. Let's dig in. We've got lots to cover today. So as always, we're going to start with Mayor Michael Concannon. Welcome.
Hi, Samantha. How's it going?
Good. I'm glad to have you on the show. With the fall weather, it tells us it's going to get cold soon. It reminds us that it's flu and cold season, and the city is offering a couple of flu clinics.
Yes, our Board of Health nurse, Allison Roach, is coordinating this for us, as she always does. And she's put up some information on the city website. We're going to be hosting a flu clinic this Thursday, October 3rd, at 3 p.m., 3 to 6 at the Senior Center up in North Woburn. And we are asking folks to sign up in advance, so Allie has a sense of how many are coming. You can find the information, as I said, on the website. Board of Health also has that information. So hopefully a lot of people take advantage of this opportunity and pre-plan for the winter.
Yeah, I love it. And then she also is doing a homebound program for someone who's not able to leave their home, and that's by appointment, but there's instructions on how to do that. I'm super appreciative that I have a family member who might take advantage of that this year because they're recovering from an illness, and it's nice that we offer that.
Yeah, Allie, she runs a great ship up there, and she's very accommodating, just a very real professional. So we're hoping to serve as many as we can this time around.
That's great. I also thought it would be a reminder, and I only remember this because the flu clinic is happening at the Senior Center at the nurse's office behind the building, but it reminded me and made me think about it. We have our senior dinner coming up, appreciation dinner in November, and people can come pick up those tickets.
Yeah, so it's back inside again. First time in a long time we've been able to do this, back at the high school on Sunday, November 3rd, 11 a.m. And the tickets are available here in my office, and the Senior Center has them as well. We've got a steady stream of people coming in so far, so I'd encourage people, if you're interested, please come get your tickets before they sell out. We wouldn't want you to miss out.
Excellent. Thanks for that reminder. And for those, most people probably know this, but in case you don't, there's no cost for the tickets. They're complimentary. Right. We just ask people to come get one, so we make sure that we have enough food and seats and everything is organized so that it can be a nice, fun experience. And I think maybe even a little wine. Want to make sure we have enough wine for everybody.
A little bit. Yeah, there'll be a little bit. And this is all thanks to the generosity of so many people in town, the Elks Club. And there's a committee that's formed to handle all the logistics. And there's so many volunteers that step up to help out. The city council will be there, school committee. A lot of folks throughout the city step up to make sure we pause on that day to honor everything that the seniors have done for us and give them a nice meal, in advance of, a few weeks in advance of Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I know Marie Lingblom at the Senior Center and Diane Merles here in the mayor's office has been working really hard organizing and also giving out those tickets. So we love when people come in to grab those.
Yeah, it should be fun to be back inside again. We're looking forward to it.
Yeah, it'd be good to share the meal, not just have a meal.
Yeah. Yep.
Exactly. Good. So we know that elections are coming up in November. We've had a few questions coming in about mail-in ballots. I did just chat with the city clerk's office this morning and confirm that we don't yet have the ballots from the state, so they're not sent out. It'll probably be at least a couple of weeks, but early voting will be starting this month, and that schedule is published, hoping for a good turnout.
Yeah, it's be here before you know it. The November election, we start early now. We'll be starting on Saturday, October 19th. The in-person early voting in Woburn is held at the old Wyman School, the castle. Come up through the back, enter through the Newbury Street doors. The city clerk, Lindsay Higgins, and her team, they do a great job. They try to make it as smooth and efficient as possible. There'll be a series of about 10 days. It's posted on the website, all the hours. But hopefully people get out and make their voice heard, and they get the chance to vote. Not a bad idea to do it in advance, just in case something comes up that day. I do know that there are some people who just prefer to handle it on that day, and that's okay too. But we do want to make sure they know that the opportunity is there in advance to check that box and again, have your voice heard.
Absolutely. Something about the tradition of election day for some people is as a nice thing. So, but however
Yeah.
you want to do it, I really appreciate that the clerk's office makes it easy for people to vote in all the ways that schedules allow for.
Yeah, they do a great job. They're one of the more forward-facing departments in the city, and it's just a great team of true public servants. Elections are a big deal, obviously, and they take it very seriously, and they make sure that they give everyone the ample opportunity to cast their vote.
Excellent. I do want to share some other good news. So we had a wonderful, significant grant come in for $500,000. I think that might be the first grant that our grant writer has been involved with personally, which is always a nice first win.
Yeah, it was a significant grant to help us with our Herald Park project. Yeah, Kevin McDonough is the new grant writer here in Woburn, and he's really hit the ground running. He's working with each of the department heads to try to ensure that their needs for grants are met. He's scouring the internet, looking for sources of funding, and then working with the department heads to find those that best fit here in Woburn. And he's got a great team. He's part of the planning department with Director John Cashell and Karen Smith and Casey Haggerty. They're a great team. They work well together. They all help each other out. And this is a big score. This is $500,000 that will help us with our Herald Park project, which, just to remind people, that's it's got two phases. It's got a resiliency nature aspect with trails and rerouting of the wetlands there to try to reach back to the natural state. Also, we have a more active park out front on the Bedford Road side that's coming as well. So people will start to see progress there really soon. We're about to sign a contract with the demolition company that will take down the Herald School. And then you'll start to see the park come about in phases. And this amount of money that we just secured will go a long way towards helping us.
Yeah, it's fantastic news. I'm glad we have that. We have a fun event coming up that the fire department is hosting coming up on October 19th. In a little while, we'll talk to Deepali, who's going to tell us about another event. It's going to be a busy, fun day. The good news is people can do both and all the things that are happening that day. But it's a great fire safety event.
Yeah, it's a great time every year. The little kids in particular love it. And some of the big kids who are little kids who get to climb on the trucks and check out the firehouse, they love it too. And the fire department goes up above and beyond to try to make it a welcoming event. They demonstrate all sorts of gear and equipment and how they do their jobs. The safe trailer will be there. There's activities and arts and crafts for the little ones and safety demonstrations. It's a real fun day. I've gone for years. We used to bring the kids when they were little. One of them is now there, ended up on the fire department. And I think it's just a great day, especially for the families and the young kids. I think what ends up happening a lot of times is the families will go from soccer over at the Joyce or hockey in the morning and then, find some time anytime between 10 and 1 to go over there and check out what they have at the fire headquarters. So again, that's October 19th, Saturday morning, 10 to 1 at the new fire headquarters. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
I think so too. My kids enjoyed it. My kids includes my husband, who loves all things.
I went last year
department.
and I had a blast there too. Last year we had the Woburn PD drone unit came. They work closely with the fire department on a lot of things, so they did a demonstration. There's just a whole lot of cool stuff for people to see, and it's a chance for us to show, in a lot of ways, where all that hard-earned taxpayer money goes for all of the public service that we provide. It's good to see that you're getting your money's worth. And I'm sure that'll be the takeaway from anyone who goes.
Excellent. Last thing I wanted to talk to you about is we'll be having a city council meeting. We tape on Monday, so this will be happening on Tuesday, and they'll be voting on a friendly taking of the building next to City Hall.
Yep.
And those folks who have been watching the meetings and who come to the meeting will hear a lot more detail about the building. But I thought it might be helpful for you to just kind of give, should we pass that and move forward with that, how that building might be utilized for the city.
Well, so that was in the committee meeting, the city council's committee meetings on a couple of different committees reviewed this, and fortunately each of the committees voted positively to send it to the full council for a vote tomorrow night. I really appreciate the support of the council on this. These are once in a lifetime kind of opportunities. When the building next door to City Hall becomes available, you really have to look closely and consider the purchase. And in this case, we were able to successfully negotiate a good price for that building. Again, with the support and the blessing of the city council, we'll also be able to do some necessary upgrades to the building in terms of ADA compliance and restroom facilities. So again, assuming a positive, favorable vote tomorrow night, we'll immediately begin the process of standing up what I would call a building use subcommittee to explore the best use of that building. We have some pretty good ideas already. We've been talking to each of the department heads. In essence, we're talking about expanding out, those who work here at City Hall so they can have a little more room, a little more office space to more appropriately serve the needs of the residents. And then there's also tremendous storage needs within City Hall and throughout the city. And the basement of this new building will be able to help us with those needs. So we'll drill down into the details of exactly which city departments go over there. We're gonna be thoughtful about this to pair up appropriate departments that work closely and try to make it easier for the public when they visit an office at City Hall, and combine the offices that they're more likely to visit, kind of make one-stop shopping and reduce the back and forth. So I expect, again, hopefully tomorrow night goes well and we immediately begin the process of securing the building via purchase, beginning necessary permitting and upgrades for the improvements to the building, and then convening that building use subcommittee to come up with the very best use for that building. Really
one of the things that I know a lot of people talk about is that sometimes we have buildings that are in the city that are in really bad shape, and the cost to repair those buildings and update those deedings are millions of dollars, and sometimes it's easier to build a new building. In this case, there's some minor things that need to happen, pretty small, but that space will be usable pretty much right away, right? Relatively.
Yeah, that's the other part of it, determining the layout of the departments that go there and how it should work. But the real improvements that need to be made up front are the ADA access, a couple of ramps to the doorways, widening some doorways, and then adding a restroom component that is only in the basement now. So we ought to be able to do that fairly quickly. We're not going to rush, but we're going to try to get in there as quickly as we can, because we are bursting at the seams over here at City Hall. And I think it'd just be better for everybody to spread out a little bit. Again, the needs of the public should be served in the most professional environment we can create. And I think this will help us do that.
Yeah. And if anybody has visited City Hall lately and met with, stop by the city clerk's office or conservation or anything, they've seen firsthand the tight quarters that are there. So
it's time. And again, these opportunities don't come up all that often. I mean, it's literally next door to City Hall. It's the perfect place for an annex. So again, I'm very grateful to all the members of the city council who saw the need and listened to the needs of those who work here at City Hall and have agreed to support this once in a lifetime purchase.
Thank you. Well, thank you as always for joining us.
Sure. Thank you, Samantha.
Great. Next up, we have City Councilor Darlene Mercer-Bruen. Welcome, Darlene.
Hey, Samantha, it's been a hot minute.
I know. I saw you in passing at the last committee meeting, but it's always nice to see your face.
And I meant really for the show. It's been a while, right? I was being.
Oh, yes.
We do see each other quite often, which I'm grateful to see you all the time. I really appreciate all that you're doing for our community and your new role. So we're very lucky to have you.
Thank you. I'm lucky to have this job. I really am enjoying it. So I'm maybe not as home as much as my family was used to, but maybe that's a good thing, See, they need to miss me a little bit, right? I worked from
a little independence,
right?
Nice, right?
Yeah, I worked from home for so many years that missing me is probably a good thing. So yeah, it's good. So we're going to talk about a whole bunch of business stuff, but before we do that, I've sort of fall is in the air. What are some of your favorite local fall activities that you like to do?
Well, always that, the Walk for Hospice is a wonderful event. And there's also, as you probably know, and I know that it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month in October. So there's lots of opportunity for us to support that great cause and all the money that they raise to try to prevent prevent breast cancer and different ways to extend people's lives with breast cancer. The work they do is so important. So those two things are always first and foremost in my mind. And then, of course, cleaning closets and reorganizing. And, I always think of, my kids are older now, but that time when school starts, it's very exciting, right? It's nerve-wracking and it's exciting. But for me as a city councilor, it was particularly exciting this year because finally, the crossing lights at Washington Street and Washington Circle and Mill Street were installed. And and I say finally because it's been a few years in the making, right? So it started with some residents that came down to the traffic commission with me, and the traffic commission heard our plea and said yes. And then former Mayor Galvin said yes to identifying the funds from mitigation funds. And then current Mayor Concannon helped us get it over the hump to finish it in collaboration with Superintendent Duran and City Engineer Corey and a whole host of other people. It takes a village. I know that's kind of, but I was just, and the work from the MWRA over there absolutely slowed it down. The equipment had been in for quite a while, but that work had to be complete. So again, I wanted to thank those people, including the residents who back then came it takes time to come down and speak, and they cared about it enough to do that. So I'm just so thrilled to see that go in, and it was perfect timing because school is obviously well on the way. And then, we'll segue quickly into the last time we spoke. I was talking about the Salem and Bow Street pedestrian crossing, which I'm working in collaboration with Councilor Demers and also Mayor Concannon and Superintendent Duran. So as many people probably know, the funding was established for that, and we did hire a consultant, and they came up with a few ideas. And at our last meeting to review those ideas, it was decided they're going to go back and narrow it down just to one or two that we can select. And doing that postponed the project slightly, but not 3 years. So we don't have to deal with the MWRA project or anything like that. So I'm hopeful that we'll be seeing those designs within the next couple of weeks, or the next, before the end of October. And again, lots of people to thank for that, including Mayor Concannon and the others that I mentioned, and Councilor Demers and my fellow city councilors. So
I'm glad that you brought that up, because I think, one of the things that I know I'm learning, because now I have a little bit of an insight into some of those discussions and meetings, I get to observe them, is I didn't really have a sensitivity to why this takes so long until I understand the traffic studies that the state requires that we do, and the approval processes to do things. And, even once the budget's set, there's all these required things that need to happen before we can actually go and install it. And so I'm people like yourself and residents who raise this and are, help us continue to champion things over extended period of time. So we appreciate that. We know that engagement isn't always easy.
It's not always easy, but I'll be frank, which I'd
expect nothing less, Darlene.
I don't think these things need to take as long as they do. But it's you have to be constantly advocating, right? And keeping your thing, whether it be, for a crosswalk or for, so we're talking about redoing downtown, right? Reconfiguring that whole space. It's really important for us as a community to be constantly advocating for that project, because I know we're on the transportation improvement program, the TIP, but that can change. We can drop down our position there can drop down. We need to be constantly on top of that as a community, as the leaders in our community, and at those meetings, and letting people know this is important to us. I can't stress that enough. The same like we do on a local level, whether it's for a pedestrian crossing or, sidewalk installation, or, moving a crosswalk. You just have to squeaky wheel, right? And fortunately in Woburn, we mostly have to squeak to, we don't have to squeak too much to the people we work side by side with. We have to squeak sometimes to Mass DOT, and who have jurisdiction over more roads in our city than I think we need. But then again, there's the argument that if they have jurisdiction, they're responsible for paying for it. So
I was just gonna say it's always that fine balance, right? Yeah. Yeah.
And I just quickly wanted to mention, I mentioned Salem and Bow, but also the other one that's on our radar here at Ward 5 is over at Orange and Pine, for a crossing light at that area. Now, the Traffic Commission has approved that. We still have a couple of more steps to get through to get that going, but it is absolutely on the radar. So anyway, I didn't mean to wander off into
it's all good. It's all good.
I will infrastructure. I love infrastructure stuff. We need
Darlene, we wouldn't be a chat with you if we didn't talk about this stuff. This is
when
important.
I saw the construction going on at Washington Circle and Mill Street, I texted Jay Duran and I said, "Oh my gosh, it's Christmas in September." I love it.
Yeah.
So.
It's, we were joking about it, but it is real. Our infrastructure and maintaining those things and making it a safe community, and it takes effort and time and money, and that it's not trivial, and that is important to us.
It's so important. And, the infrastructure work that happens underground is equally as important. When the utility lines are being done and all those things, which can sometimes slow up when your streets are paved, right? So if we're installing all new gas lines and water lines, we can't pave your street until those things are done first. But it's hard sometimes for me and for others. It's like, oh yeah, that's important, but you can't see it. It's all underground, right? So sidewalks you can see.
It's true. Every time I have to pay for something, like fixing plumbing or something in my house, I need it. I want to be able to take a shower and flush my toilet. Right. But it's a little less satisfying than buying a new couch that I look at every day.
But equally as important. And
I'd argue even maybe more.
Yeah,
perhaps even more important.
Right.
I appreciate that. And development is something that, Darlene, I know you feel very a lot of passion about. You care a lot about our community, and you advocate for thoughtful development all the time in your role as a city councilor. And even though and one of the projects that has a lot of people talking is the Dome site today and the development that's there. And I know that there have been ongoing discussions. I think the public hearing for that might have been moved to the 15th. I don't know if you know offhand, but either way, interested to get your feedback on that project and kind of get your thoughts.
So I know I have great faith in Councilor Demers. He's leading this effort as he is the councilor. And our very first public hearing when the plans were presented, and that's all we've had to date, is one public hearing meeting. Some of us shared our concerns. I know I shared my concerns about how the building looked. I think that was shared equally by Councilor Demers. And it just didn't really fit in with the center. And I know efforts are currently being made on Councilor Demers' part to work with the petitioner to come up with some new plans. And soon we'll see some of those in committee, and then there'll be more time to weigh in. Like, did they get it right? What else do we need? And so on and so forth. So I think we're on the right path. I think we're on the right path. It will be nice to see that corner cleaned up.
Yes.
So so that's where we're at now. But literally it was one meeting. So we've got a bit we got a bit to go.
Yeah, I think this is another opportunity. This is a good example of where community engagement helps us refine and come up with it. Look, the site is almost abandoned for the most part, right?
I would say
something
abandoned.
needs to happen there.
Yeah.
And I think there's is a good opportunity to help us figure out how that can transform. It's great somebody wants to make an investment in our community, and now City Council with feedback from the community will help make it something we can all be proud of.
And I have received feedback, a lot of feedback from people via text and emails about the building itself and what the pictures that they saw, and so I think it's great that people are weighing in, and obviously I've passed that information on to Councilor Demers and everybody else who is in special permits when it gets to special permits. It's not there yet. It will be eventually. So and when we do, just so the public knows, when we have special permit meetings, those are typically not public hearings. But if people want to come to the committee meetings, there's if we can, we do open it up to the public. But and I would also say it's very important to come to the public hearings and get, not that you're not on the record in a permit meeting, but the public hearings are very, very important to come down to speak on the record about your feelings one way or the other. And if you can't make it, you can send a note, you can even send a text and say, hey, I want this written, I want someone to read this into the public meeting, or at least submit it. So there's all kinds of ways to manage if you can't physically get to the building.
Excellent. I do want to talk a little bit about Woburn Villages. Now, that's not a new development. It's been around for a while now. I actually considered myself very brave and went grocery shopping on a Saturday afternoon. Kind of no matter where that is, that's a liberation. But I have to tell you, I did not bring my husband's truck. I was smart and brought my car, and I found a parking space right away. And it actually was a pleasant experience. So I can't complain. But we know that sometimes there's complaints about parking and such. But aside from that, what are some of the feedback you're getting to residents now that we have sort of a full cadre of restaurants and shops and entertainment and things that happens there?
Okay, so your question is timely because, part of our agreement when we did this project, and you probably know this, I'm not sure a lot of people at home know it, this was a 40R. So a 40R we did with the MBTA in the state of Massachusetts, and a 40R is considered a friendly 40B. So a lot of not the design of the buildings, but a lot of the particulars around density and that sort of thing came from direction from the MBTA. And I'm not suggesting that it's too dense. I'm just saying, though, we had to work around some parameters, but we were able to put in the kind of mitigation that we wanted at like a 40B and so on and so forth. And what leads me to, or what leads me to that is, as part of the special permit that was given, we conditioned it that within a couple of years, or almost at full capacity, that we would be doing a complete review of the entire site. Now, keep in mind, a special permit can be reviewed at any time by the city council. But for this particular one, it will require, we go back and revisit traffic numbers. And what I do hear from residents all the time is that it is very, very difficult to park where they want to park. And that is not an untruth. That is absolutely true. If you want to park in front of, Tavern in the Square, you might have a tough time depending on what time of day, or if it's a weekend. If you want to park right in front of Surf, depending on, especially if it's a Friday night or a Saturday, you might not be able to park over there. And you could maybe find a parking spot way on the other side. But I understand people want to park closer. But what I have seen myself when I'm there, yes, the parking can be a challenge. But what I think is an even bigger challenge with that site is pedestrian access. There's not enough signage. There's not enough sidewalks leading you to where you're going to park. There's also, I think there's a gap when the lights change and people are trying to get in, the traffic is spilling out onto Michelin Road. So we've got some things to resolve. There's no doubt about that. And I actually called for a special permit review at the last city council meeting. I put in for the request for it. And we will be including Avalon in that discussion because that's a separate permit. And I think some people at home probably know about the daycare that's going in next door. And we are picking up quite a few parking spaces from the daycare that will be utilized after 5 for people at Woburn Village, and all day on both weekend days. So that's a win. We conditioned that permit in that way. So that is absolutely going to help because those are much closer to some of those restaurants that I just said. But I'm hoping we're going to have that special permit meeting. I'd asked for it in October. So we can get to work on some of those things. Matter of fact, Mayor Concannon, when he was on the city council, participated in some meetings with me, and as has President Dillon, with conversations with Edens. Not Edens, I'm sorry. Yes, it's Edens. I've got a couple going on. We got Madison Properties over on Washington Street. So anyway, yes, it is Edens. And I appreciate their participation in those calls. Everybody knows we need to address it, but from my perspective, yes, hearing about traffic, I want to park closer, but I'm also concerned about just the general traffic pattern within the site. I don't know if you
I think that's
that
fair.
at all.
I mean, I think it's fair if I'm not going to park right in front of the store I want to. I think that's generally, I sort of accept that. But having easy access for wherever I am parking to that space, walking is, I think that's fair. Yeah. I have been fortunate in that as long as I don't take my husband's truck, if I take my husband's truck, there's something about the angle of the spots that is a challenge for us in a large portion of that lot. We've learned that the hard way, unfortunately.
Right. No, I know.
But if I take my car, I've been pretty lucky, but I'm also willing to just sort of say, this is an easy spot for me to pull into, even if it's not where I really want to be.
Right.
And I'll just kind of go over there. So I think it's great that we continue to look at those things. That's important. The good news is the businesses, I hope, are doing well because it's pretty busy over there.
It's very busy. And the people that do visit the restaurants and visit the stores and really enjoy the experience once they get there. And Home Goods, I know a lot of people that love going to Home Goods and TJ Maxx, and sometimes when you're going to Home Goods, you're buying big pieces of furniture, so you want to try to park close. So I'm not sure we're going to be able to solve all of those problems, but I'm confident that we'll be able to do a better job of making things safer and easier to get to if you can't park right where you want to. And again, I'm also glad we put those in as conditions that we have to revisit it. So
yeah, and I think it's great that we have more spaces that will be available in the evening and the weekends, which are some of the busiest times. That's actually really, really great news. A couple other things I wanted to chat with you about. One of them is we had a community electricity meeting recently. We're very early in that process, but just wanted to get your thoughts. I think this represents a potentially really positive things for our residents, and wanted to kind of get your take on things.
I think it's great news, but honestly, I think there'll be a learning curve. I think people will be hesitant at first because they're not going to understand it all, and that's to be expected. So there might need to be a little bit more education so people truly understand it, that this isn't a scam, because there's a lot of scams. And, I think as a community, we can do more to educate people. And I'm sure we should maybe hold some events at the senior center, maybe hold some events at and you're probably way ahead of me on all this stuff.
Hey, no pride of ownership. Bring it on. I think we definitely will do that as we get pricing and we know how this will roll out.
Yeah,
I agree with you. I think this is a new concept, not for the state. Lots of communities do this, but for us, this is new, and we have a obligation to help people understand it. So this was a first meeting. I hope more people will watch the recording. I hope more people will come to all the future things we plan. And I agree with you. I'm definitely, the senior center is on our list, but if there's other communities that want to host a meeting to talk about this, I hope they reach out and tell us, because we'd like the opportunity to make sure that their audience understands it, and we get a chance to answer their questions.
Right. And it's not on the surface. I don't think it's confusing, but there's so many different things coming at everyone all the time. And let's face it, a lot of them are scams, right? People purposefully trying to take your money or take something. So everybody is so much on the ready for that, and we should be. So I think in this case, we just really, really need to take the time to explain it. And I guess the challenge is trying to explain it in, 5 easy steps or less, right? And that's even for me. I mean, my husband and my daughter explained it to me, and I said, okay, now you guys have to make that into 5 bullets. That's your job.
I love it. I didn't get 5 bullets. I think there might be 17 FAQs, but
we need to cut it down.
But there is one that explains, I think, what it is, at least, that hopefully, I hope people will, but we want feedback, and we want to make it easy for people to understand. So
I think it's great.
I appreciate that.
I'm so glad that we're engaged in it, and we're going to move forward with it.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. I think it's a great opportunity to potentially contain a challenging cost that's spikes a lot for folks. So that'll be good. Just before I let you go in the last couple minutes while we still have you, anything else going on in your ward or across the city that you want to chat about?
There's always something going on. There are, so a couple of years ago, there was a little over, oh gosh, and I'm not going to throw the number out, but we have a significant amount of money for improvements to Leland Park. And so since the lines moved, I don't represent the people that live right next to Leland Park, but I do represent people who still use Leland Park. So that's why I bring it up. I'm not trying to jump back into. I represent everyone. So anyone who calls me, I'm never going to turn them away. People call me from all over the city, so I shouldn't have said it that way. But at the end of the day, the reason why I bring it up is because I'm very anxious to see some of that work get going. And I know that Rory was going to get the quotes for the new equipment. And as I heard the mayor talking about all the wonderful things that are happening over at the Herald, I'm thinking, well, we need to get going on Leland, because we've had that money was in the capital budget, not this last time, but the time before that. So, and I know things come about, and but I'm anxious to get that going, and I'm going to continue my conversations with Mayor Concannon and Rory, and also Councilor Papalato, to see if we can get that going. And I have to also say, I know that those quotes take time. Rory's been doing this a long time, so she has always explained to me the process. And those people aren't always so quick to get back to us, and then it takes time to order the equipment. So I appreciate everything she does, and that the folks in that office. And I just wanted to comment briefly about the new building. So for me, I was obviously very concerned about spending the money, because we've got some financial hurdles we're going to have to address in November because of the budget in June. But this really, so taxpayers understand it and the residents understand it. We literally swapped one asset for another. So we had, the 1.5 million sitting in the bank collecting interest, but now we're going to purchase this building, which inevitably is going to be worth a lot more than we paid for it. And as I explained during committee, the thing that was, I of course want our employees to have a safe, nice place to work. But the question about the residents needed to be answered for me. And how does this translate for the people who are paying for it, right? And that's everybody that lives here. And the answer is simple. They're the people that are paying for it. They're the people coming to this building. They should, when they come to this building, be able to sit and have a conversation with the conservation department and not have to stand out in the hallway. That's not hyperbole. That's the truth. That is the truth. If you go down to Teresa's office, if you're more than one person, you can't go into that office. My goodness, she sometimes doesn't even have room for the plants. So that's just one example. And as I've talked to people about this, you know, some of the things I've heard were from people, well, this is the building of the people. It should represent and be something people can be proud of. And I think the campus style, you know, it's right across the street. I think all of it is great. And I wouldn't say that, Samantha, you know that, if I didn't believe it. So I'm very excited for the people in Woburn and for our employees. I think this is a good buy, and we're certainly going to get our money's worth and a big boost in because that's important, right? We're going to get our value when the property value goes up. And the one thing about property is they're not making less of it. Right? Yes. They're not making more of it. They're not making more of it. There's not more of it coming. They're not making more of it. So, and I know it's important that the information that Charlie supplied to us was very important on how it would work, and that it isn't going to have an impact on our rolls, you know, so tax rolls. So again, I just figured I'd mention that it's exciting. I'm glad that it came forward. Yeah. I was on the fence for a while. I have to tell you, I was a solid no. And then I was like, I did my homework and I came around because it was the right thing to do.
That's great. Well, thank you for sharing that. I know that'll be a discussion as well in the council meeting coming up, but it's I think these are important conversations for us to have, and I appreciate the diligence. Thank you, Darlene, for joining us as always. I appreciate it.
You guys take care.
Excellent. Okay. And next up, Deepali, welcome back from Saheli. I'm glad to have you with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Concannon, and thank you, Samantha, for bringing us in. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, talk about Saheli and the different events that we are going to be doing.
So October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. I wish we did not need to recognize that. But we certainly do. I'd love to, from the work that you do, get your perspective on why it's so important for us to take the time this month to recognize it.
Yes, so thank you so much for talking to us to bring awareness to this cause. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and as you said, I really wish we did not have to bring awareness to this cause, but it is an important time to shed light on an often hidden and stigmatized issue that affects millions of individuals globally, in our community, in our backyard. So recognizing this month creates a critical space for survivors to share their stories, for communities to come together to support the survivors, and for us as advocates to amplify the message that domestic violence is a preventable issue. It is a pervasive issue, but it is preventable. It also serves as a reminder that raising awareness can lead to intervention, support, and ultimately prevent abuse. By dedicating the month to this cause, we collectively want to emphasize the need for ongoing education, resources, and a collective action to foster safety and empowerment for survivors, and to challenge those societal norms that perpetuate violence. And we all know that we have so many societal barriers to be able to support the survivors and for them to get help. So that is why this whole month is very important for awareness, so that we can do our small parts and bring awareness to everybody.
So I'm very excited because you have, as an organization, held a walk during this month, which is a great way to raise awareness and also some fundraising. But this is the first time you'll be doing it right here in Woburn.
Yes, so thank you so much, Woburn, for welcoming us, for giving us the opportunity to have the walk around the picturesque Horn Pond, and signing off all our permits and everything, and agreeing to and supporting us. So we are very proud about it. This inaugural walk will be on October 19th, which is a Saturday. And you mentioned that there is the firefighter thing also in the city, so people can do the walk walk at 9 o'clock and then go for their soccer games or the firefighter event as well. Registration begins at 9 a.m. We are going to start walking from the Sturgis Street parking lot around the Horn Pond, and it starts at 9:30. We are hopeful that the weather will be nice because it will give us an opportunity to walk together for the cause. And participants can look forward to various stations. We'll have one water and snack station around the Lions Park near the gazebo. And of course, one more station with the south parking lot is near the bathrooms so that it's convenient for people. And of course, we'll be walking in Sea of Purple, which is symbolizes our committed to raising awareness to domestic violence. And purple is the color of domestic violence. And this event is for all ages, families, kids, pets. We encourage community participation and a solidarity against domestic violence. So I would request anybody who's listening to this message or sees our sign, please join us as we take steps together towards healing and empowerment and supporting survivors.
Now, I know people are going to meet up the day of to sort of formally register. Do you, where can they sign up ahead of time? Or does it matter if they sign up ahead of time?
So I have sent out emails to all the community members of Woburn community with the registration link, but I don't mind coming to your office and putting up the sign there, if that's okay. But what we are going to do tomorrow or day after, put signs around Horn Pond with a QR code to register, and see if we can put it in some other areas as well. So there will be around Horn Pond like a board with a QR code to register for the walk.
Excellent. Deepali, before I let you go, I think it might be helpful to just remind people that any money that's raised during this walk goes to really important things. Why don't you share a little bit about how it's spent?
Absolutely. So the cost, so there we are doing two different forms of registration. A $35 registration is also includes a purple t-shirt because we do want to walk in purple and we want a sea of purple that day. And also, if you're not able to join us that day, we say walk at your pace in your space. It is a $10 registration. It is called the Step Up Challenge. We are saying it Step It Up with Saheli. So you walk 10,000 steps, donate $10, and then you tag a next person and say, hey, I'm nominating. If I walk 1,000 steps and I say, hey, I'm nominating Samantha to walk 1,000 steps and donate $10, and you can do it anywhere from anywhere. If you can't make it that day, you want your kids to join, walk 1,000 steps and donate $10, that'll be awesome for us. So that there are two ways of doing this. Come in person or just do a walk at your pace in your place and step it up for the $10 donation. And all these funds are going in to our survivors, helping them for economic empowerment, be able to learn get driver's license or driving lessons, or we pay a minimal amount for their tuition reimbursement if somebody wants to do skill development. And of course, $250 donation goes towards buying them groceries for them and for their children. And also maybe $100 donation goes towards utility bills. So there are different levels. So whatever you donate, every dollar will go in supporting these survivors and their children during these winter months and for many months to come.
Thank you so much for organizing this opportunity for us as a community. We're grateful to have you.
Thank you so much. And we look forward to you and look forward to Mayor Concannon on October 19th.
Great. Thank you. And just before we wrap up, audience, I just wanted to mention, Darlene had mentioned something that was important that I want to just emphasize, which is that there is Tanner Tatas, if you're not familiar with them. You should be. They do a lot of incredible local work here to support people who are struggling with breast cancer and in treatment, and they are having what they call their toll booths around the city, I think this Saturday. So if you see people waving in pink, that money that they're collecting goes toward that good. As all of you know who have watched the show over the last couple of years, I was in treatment myself, and I was very fortunate that they surprised me with feel good packages and things, and lots of things that lifted your spirits, and those little gifts and things that they provided, and support that they provide for those who are going through treatment. It means a lot. And so I encourage all of you, if you have a chance to stop by one of those toll booths, to stop by and donate. But if you can't donate, give a wave, honk a horn, let them know that you're there. That's equally important. And so thank you for joining us today. And as always, Woburn, please continue to take good care of each other.